G'day folks, Steve from Vintage Restorations Australia here. In today's episode I've got my mate Dangar Stu visiting from Dangar Island. We're going to build Stewie a hardwood bench top for his boat Renko. So come along with us as we head into town, head out to John's and then head back here and get that underway. Stewie, why are you trying to break in, mate? Some idiot forgot the key.
At least there's a bit of broken glass to fall onto.
I put that glass there in case you fall.
A skinny little bugger, isn't he?
There's nothing to him. It's all cock and
Or his
legs.
feet.
He's in!
Victory! Give it a kick, Steve. Nice.
We're in.
There's no door handle to pull it. Looks good.
So it's nice and thick.
Yeah, good stability, yeah.
We'll just find the straightest bits. Is it too rustic for you?
No.
It'll thicken this up pretty nice.
That's it. Totally.
There
Oh,
was also that iron bark I was talking about. But
this will be good. This will be good. We've de-nailed it all, just with some claw hammers, getting it to 1500 before it goes to be thickness. Final length is 1400 that we'll do once they're joined. Good enough.
So we've got Stu here today and we're making a little bench for his cruising yacht, or is it for Renko?
No, it's my cruising yacht.
It's for your cruising yacht. So we've sized these down, ran them through the thicknesser, through the bench saw, then through the thicknesser to get them dressed. So they're nice and square, as you can see, flush edges. And now what we want to do is join those together to make a tabletop. So here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, maybe 20. The basic premise of this is, in the join, we've got to put a slot and then add one of these biscuit joins and glue it all together. Basically, we clean those up. You've got to make a mark so all your little biscuits that go in the middle match up.
Yep.
So that's what this, we've put these lines across, line, line, line. We're going to put a little rebate in each of these with a biscuit joiner. And then once that's done, you stick a biscuit in it, glue it in.
It's not an actual biscuit, is it?
Where are the biscuits?
I did clean them up, didn't I? Well, that's the end of that.
Cut!
They can't be that far, surely.
Through the magic of YouTube.
Yep. Edit.
So these are the little biscuits. And they basically go in a slot, a biscuit-shaped slot in there. And then when you clamp on them, the moisture in the glue reacts with those and they swell up. So they actually form both a chemical bond with the glue, because the glue impregnates that, and it also is a mechanical bond. So, get the router, also known as biscuit joiner. What this does, I just have to remember how to use it. It's a little thing that goes here, that sets your depth. And what happens is when you set it there on the mark, there's a little mark here and here that aligns the lines that we've drawn on it. And when we push that like that, you have a look down here, a little spinning blade comes out and it cuts an elliptic biscuit shaped hole in the side of the timber. Anyway, that's the theory of it. We're going to need some power. On the top of here, I've drawn numbers that match up the boards, so we know where the boards are. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So whatever way we tilt them and do them to put the routes in, you know where they belong. The key is to make them all match up. Otherwise, when you go to fit them back together, this will be in the way. If it's over here, it won't join. You'll end up with this misaligned and not going in the hole. It'll be wrong, bad, horrible. People will die.
Wow, Steve, perfect first time.
Every time, mate, I get it perfect every time. So what we've done is gone through and routed all of those, or done the biscuit joint. Now we're going to go through and glue them all up. So we'll do 3 at a time, and then we'll join the whole lot and clamp it all together.
Sounds like a plan.
Get your glue boots on.
All right.
So when you add the glue, squeeze it into the rebate on both sides, and then squeeze the biscuit in, and then go along and cover the whole surface before you marry them together. Waka, 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 wow, wow. So just go along and put the biscuits into the gooey joint.
So is it okay to put the biscuits straight in if they've already sticky from being in another slot?
There's no cross-contamination with goo.
That's good. Okay, it's good to know.
You just use a bit more. All right, so at this point, make sure your numbers are lined up. Try line up the little lines on the front. And that should just slot on like that. Now we've got to glue this one and put that one in there.
I reckon Nigella would do this incredibly well.
With we could do some Nigella overdub.
If you want to squeeze plumptious beauties, be my guest. Don't be afraid. Just go at them together with a rolling pin in a freezer bag until I'm excitedly primed.
They're just slightly out. I'm trying to get one straight edge here. So if they're a bit out, just give them the old rubber hammer. Line the ends up. Now one of the things I love most in life is getting PVA on my finger, and when it dries, peeling it off.
And using it, then I can take that bit of PVA and unlock Steve's phone using the fingerprint. You can.
That's a lie.
Ah, yes.
A lie. Fact check.
Fact check that. We're going to prove it tonight.
Okay. So we've joined 2 sets of 3 boards together. And now we're going to join these 3 with these 3 and clamp it all up. There's a lot of glue and stuff coming out of here, but once they're clamped, we can give it a wipe with a damp rag and remove the excess PVA.
This is the moment of reckoning.
I hate when the cameraman tries his hand at presenting it. It's just, you end up with some pretty bad commentary.
You want to get your $6 at the end of the week.
We're going over, aren't we?
Up and over. So ladies on men.
Where's our number size? Match your numbers, mate.
Well, there's no lines. Yeah. Ooh. Still going. Wish. Okay. All right.
1, 2.
Stacks on.
Close. There we go. You got.
We could have got that really wrong if Peter had helped it.
Get him down. Wiggle till it's in. So hang on, that's not quite right. You go the other end.
Alright. I guess it has to go that way a little bit.
Yeah.
Couldn't you have done this on the horizontal rather than the vertical?
Gravity doesn't work that way, mate. Neither do we.
Where's me rubber?
The Moulay de Malay.
Yeah. Alright, squeeze and try to support.
Squeeze, this sounds like a bra.
Don't break your biscuits. Oh, nicely done.
Squeezes and...
Alright, now we need clamps.
So what's the solvent for PVA, Steve-O? The cast? Water. That's good to know.
H2O.
No, he said water. There we go. Look at that.
We have contact.
Jodie Foster.
That's a simple thing, Stewie.
Yep, that's lovely.
You see how that works, mate?
I do now. And first time as well.
First time.
First time, perfect every time.
You probably should.
No wonder you spend so little time editing, because everything's so perfect every
I've done
time.
it every go, mate.
Boom.
Home run.
Jesus.
Just cool. What are you doing?
It was too far fucking out.
It falls off the table and kills
Oh,
someone.
hang on, Aiden, back it off first. Don't roll your eyes at me. Prima donna. I can't work with people
You can't.
who don't accept my flaws.
Like I said, mate, 10-minute job.
Every job's like... I think it's set too fast, mate. Does it? It goes off, or it'll soften?
Oh, in the clamp it'll be alright.
Yeah.
Where it runs. So just give that a quick clean up before it sets too much. But that's pretty much it. We've clamped it up. Stewie and I started just before dawn this morning, and we've just finished. So it's a pretty much a 10-minute job. Minutes, Stu?
8
8 to 10, maybe 12.
Or there was a full drive trip around the tennis.
Just
You
a,
sleeping until 11.
just a smoker.
Smoke
Yeah,
though,
smoke,
lunch,
yeah.
afternoon tea. Pretty much. So it was a 10-minute job. Nice.
So that's all clamped up now. We've got the, it's been drying overnight. You can see the glue's gone off. So we can unclamp that now, give it a sand, and essentially it's kind of finished and ready to go on Stewie's boat. The key with this is getting your timber all nice and square when you do it. So wobbly old bush timbers and stuff are not good. So you want to run them through the thicknesser and the saw like we showed before. Get it nice and square, or buy brand new timber if you're that way inclined. This is nice because it's recycled. You can see it looks pretty good. Once we sand that, it'll come up a treat.
So I've done this with an 80 grit on the belt sander, just to knock the glue and the ridges out of it, because there's a slight, 1/4 mil difference somewhat in some places. So that'll knock that out, and then about a 120 grit to flatten it out, and I'm just finishing it with a 180. The more you can seal the surface, so sand it, the better it will weather. So after this, we'll get a quick coat of oil on it, saturate it with a boiled linseed concoction, and it'll be ready for Renko. Renko ready. So that's all sanded now. It's nice and smooth. It's down to a 200 grit. So that's nicely sealed up, ready for some oil.
So you're saying you've got to use boiled linseed oil, not just regular linseed oil?
Yeah, the important thing about boiled linseed versus non-boiled is sort of it's a drying oil, but very slow drying, so it doesn't cross-link quick enough. If you put it on there, it'll stay sticky for years, and so every bit of dust, insect,
every bit of fluff will stick to it, and eventually its timber will go black. You see a lot of linseed finished stuff goes black. That's just everything sticking to it. So the boiled linseed oil is a modified oil, so it actually dries. And what I do is, you know, they've got drying agents in it as well as the boiling process makes it dry a bit quicker. So I mix this about that much, exactly that much, with exactly 25% of pure gum turpentine. What the terps does is it gives you penetration. So, and everyone loves penetration. So
Take three.
Take three. So then, what the penetration will do is get that linseed oil deep down into the timber grain, because it thins it out essentially. And once it goes in, this will evaporate out, leaving this. And then it dries, gives you a nice hard dried oil coating, preventing moisture from penetrating.
And outdoors, how often do you reckon I should repeat that process?
Every week. No, probably, you know, depends on how much UV it gets. That's a piece of string question, but
lots. It's probably the
every
answer.
6 months would be a good thing.
Okay, cool. Yep.
It's a maintenance coating. It will build up, so because it's going to dry, but it'll sort of rub off and abrade off on the surface like any finish. Like if you put urethane on that, it would abrade off as you use it. So it's no different to that. Linseed oil is what they initially used to make paint. So early paints were linseed oil, boiled linseed oil with oxide pigments in them, and that was essentially paint. So, and what happened was the linseed oil dried, holding the pigment there, paint. So even if you've got old paint that's, you know how it goes powdery? That's essentially all the binders coming out of it. The linseed oil was the binder in early paints. So those early paints, as they dry and become powdery, you bang a bit of boiled linseed turpentine into it, you're re-elasticating it and re-binding all of those pigments back together. You're kind of making paint on the surface.
And is this something you did when you did conservation?
No, we'd never use that because it's not a reversible treatment.
Right,
I can't remove that. With conservation, all treatments have to be reversible. This is kind of a permanent thing. When you put it in the timber, it's there to stay. That's why it's a good thing. For this application, which isn't a museum piece, so I never recommend that on your antique furniture and stuff of value. You know, if it's just a bit of stuff in your house, go for it. But I also, you can use normal terps. I like the pure gum terps because it smells like that.
It smells nice.
It smells nice. Bad for you. It says do not sniff on there, but you'll be right, mate. So
it's not the worst I've done.
It's the worst thing you've sniffed. So doing this, you're trying to saturate it. So if you want, pour it on like that. The more you can get into the grain, the better. You can see there, with a bit of sun, that beautifies the timber.
Oh, it looks gorgeous.
And also prevents ingress of water, which is what we're aiming to do. So basically, the first coat you do is a saturation coat. Boom, like that. Get as much on as you can within reason, you know. Get a bath and have a bath.
Soak it.
Linseed oil, you can, but cranks your handle. So see how that's kind of nicely. Have a rub of that, Stu. You'll feel it kind of floats.
Glides,
That's how much you want on. So it's sort of
it's not
floats.
catching because it's dry.
You can do this, mate.
Thanks, mate. Trust me.
No point paying me $800 an hour to do what you can do.
You said it was $750.
No, $750. And with this, you've got to remember it's a drying oil. So if you put two, you've got to rub off the excess. Once you get that penetration, you want to remove the surface. We'll come back to this in 15-20 minutes. And see how it's going. If you want, you can add more at that point. Essentially, while it's wet, it'll keep penetrating. So if it sucks up all that oil, then add a bit more, because it'll keep going in, and then you want good depth, you know?
Edges and...
or do all the edges.
Well, we're going to cut those anyway, don't we? So...
Well, maybe. But
true.
re-oil them when you do them.
Of course,
The other thing to remember with this is, a piece of timber like this, if you seal this side and don't seal the other side, and it's the same for tabletops and stuff that people might be making, seal both sides, and then you don't get that differential drying. There's a thing called equilibrium moisture content. Moisture comes and goes from timber, you know, as the atmospheric moisture changes, timber comes out or goes into it.
Moisture goes in.
In and out. So, and this wants to be about 8% moisture content, you know, the held moisture. And so if you just seal one side and not the other, the moisture goes in there but not here, and the thing goes like that. And that's why tables and timber buckles. So seal both sides, especially in your case, you'll have this will dry out and this will stay wet in a boat. That's why it wants to do that.
Yep.
So as this dries, the tension in the timber goes up because the bottom's, you know, not as moist or dry as the top, and
Yep.
it'll respond like that. So
Makes sense.
seal both sides of everything you do. So your cabinets inside, seal the whole lot.
Yep.
So that's plywood, so it's kind of braced against doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this will really respond to the moisture and the sun on one side.
Mm-hmm.
So the heat and the moisture kind of do the same thing, but it's they work together, the heat and the moisture, and cause that
Yep.
warping. Anyway,
It
that
looks
pretty
amazing
nice.
now. It's
Yeah, you can already see that sucking it up.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Because this hardwood's about 80-year-old recycled stuff. That,
Yep.
You know,
It's
out
about
of
80, you
old
reckon?
barns. Yeah, about 80 years old.
Nice.
So,
It's almost as old as you.
not quite. But looks awesome.
It does. Thank you.
It's too much for a bait board, mate. This should be in the whiskey table.
True.
Cards and whiskey.
Can you not drink whiskey at a bait board?
I think you can.
I'm pretty sure you can.
It's good bait, actually.
What
Whiskey.
about
Depends which-
fish oil?
Fish
If
oil.
as we're like doing like marlin fillets on here.
Well, again, that's one of those oil that'll stink up and
Yeah.
not really cross-link.
Go black.
Fish oils go black and
Yeah.
cross-link. And, you know, that aging process, like things that they're going grey, for instance, if you just left that and it
Yeah.
went grey, that's a photo-oxidisation process where it's starting to break down.
Yeah.
Hardwood, interestingly or not, some people might fall asleep by now, but hardwood will oxidise at a rate of about 6 mils per 100 years,
Wow.
which is pretty slow.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, so something like that, the oxidisation from just light and weathering and stuff, if it stayed flat, it would last, you know,
Yeah.
ages without a coating on it.
Yep. We still get hundreds of years.
100.
Yeah.
Whereas pine and stuff, it's more responsive to moisture than hardwoods. This is what hardwoods are better. They're a pain in the butt to work with.
Yep.
But they will last way longer because they're not as responsive to equilibrium moisture change, the moisture coming and going. They're more stable, they're stronger, more or less.
Yeah. Nice.
But you'll see pine will start to crack and chip.
Yep.
So will this, but pine will do it way quicker.
Yep.
Wow, that looks good. There you go, folks. A bit of equilibrium moisture exchange, and you've got your dose of
EMC.
You've got your EMC.
E equals MC
Look
squared
at that.
EMC
A bit of
equals
science.
equilibrium moisture.
They blinded us with science. They blinded me with science.
And Pedley gave it a review.
Oops, I swore again. Cameraman's doing that.
Cameraman's been narrating again.
Science.
It's hard to find a silent cameraman.
I'd give that a little
Thank
bit
you,
more,
Dale.
'cause that's really
Yep.
sucking it up.
Yeah. Right.
Well, that's pretty much the workbench all finished. If you want to see it fitted to the boat, go over to Dangar Stu's channel and have a look. He'll be fitting that to the boat in the next week or so. Thanks as always to our patrons. If you haven't subscribed, please do. If you haven't given me a thumbs up, thumbs down, please do. We're happy to hear from you, so comments down below. I guess that's it for the week. So we'll see you next week, folks. See ya.
In vintage restorations, we've got a saying: safety 7th,
Yes.
always. Was it 8th?
I didn't realise you put it so high.
It's
I'm always
over.
getting hassled about my approach to that. That's too hard. Let's go.
OH&S stands for optional health and safety. Who's driving? Oh, I'm gonna. No, you drive.